Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we journey to a place where the past whispers through the walls. Hawthorne Manor, a sprawling mansion perched on the cliffs above foggy Hawthorne Bay, and in its heart, a mystery that only one man, Detective Arthur Sinclair, might unravel. The wind howled through the pines surrounding Hawthorne Manor as Arthur Sinclair stepped out of his polished black sedan. His coat collar was turned up against the evening chill, and his fedora cast a shadow over eyes that had seen more secrets than most people dared to imagine. He had been summoned not for a crime, at least not yet, but for a disturbance that had the local constable scratching his head. Every night for the past week, the manor's grand bell, a bronze sentinel mounted in the east tower, had been ringing, sometimes once, sometimes in irregular peals, and each time it tolled, small peculiar items in the manor vanished. A silver letter opener, a set of keys, a crystal paperweight, nothing of great value, yet enough to unsettle the Hawthorne family. Sinclair's footsteps echoed against the cobblestone driveway as he approached the main entrance. The front door opened before he could knock, and the manor's butler, an austere man named Grayson, ushered him inside. "Detective Sinclair, we're relieved you're here," Grayson said, his voice carrying the weight of long nights spent worrying over the manor's mysteries. "The bell rang again tonight. Miss Hawthorne fears, well, I hardly know what to call it." "Miss Hawthorne?" Arthur asked, raising an eyebrow. "The young lady of the manor?" "Yes, Eleanor Hawthorne. She insists the bell carries a message, perhaps a warning. Others dismiss it as superstition, but—" Grayson hesitated, his eyes drifting toward the shadowed hallway. Arthur nodded slowly. "I've learned to listen to such warnings, Grayson. Strange noises often hide stranger truths." They walked through the dimly lit halls, the scent of polished wood and old books filling the air. Portraits of stern ancestors glared down at them, their painted eyes seemingly following each step. Sinclair's practiced gaze scanned the room for hidden clues: a misplaced candlestick, scratches in the floorboards, dust disturbed where it shouldn't be. Eleanor Hawthorne appeared at the top of the grand staircase. Her dark hair framed a face etched with worry, and her eyes were sharp, though clouded with unease. "Detective Sinclair," she said, her voice trembling just enough to betray the tension she tried to hide. "Thank you for coming. I fear something unnatural is at work." Arthur inclined his head politely. "Miss Hawthorne, the unnatural often has a very natural explanation, but I promise we'll get to the bottom of this bell." "Tonight," Eleanor said, "we heard it again. The bell, 3 slow tolls, and the silver locket of my grandmother vanished from her jewelry box. I've searched everywhere. It is gone." Sinclair's eyes narrowed. A theft so precise, coinciding with the bell's toll, suggested planning. "Show me the room." They climbed the winding staircase to Eleanor's chamber. Sinclair studied the jewelry box, noting the faint scratches along the lock, the subtle dust displaced on the velvet lining. Nothing overt, but enough for a trained eye to suspect an intruder had been here recently. "Did anyone else have access to this room?" he asked. Eleanor hesitated. "Only family, and Grayson, of course, but he wouldn't." Her words faltered, fear creeping into her voice. Sinclair's mind worked quickly. The bell, the missing items, the timing. Everything hinted at a deliberate message, a secret someone wanted to convey or hide. He made a mental note. Watch the bell tower tonight. Observe. Wait. Patience often revealed what haste concealed. As the wind howled louder outside, the manor seemed to shiver in response. And then, as if on cue, a faint, singular ding echoed from the tower above. Arthur Sinclair's eyes snapped toward the ceiling. The bell had rung. And this time, he was ready to follow its call. But what awaited him at the top of the tower? And now, ladies and gentlemen, we ascend the winding staircase with Detective Arthur Sinclair, each step bringing him closer to the mysterious bell that has haunted Hawthorne Manor, and perhaps closer to answers no one expected. The spiral staircase groaned under Arthur's weight as he climbed toward the east tower. Shadows danced on the walls, flickering from the candle sconces that lined the hallway. The manor seemed to hold its breath, as though aware that a secret was about to be uncovered. At the top, the bell chamber loomed, a circular room with stone walls and a single narrow window overlooking the misty cliffs. There it stood, the massive bronze bell, its surface worn and dull with age, yet commanding in its silent presence. A thick rope hung from its center, swaying slightly from the last toll. Arthur approached cautiously, inspecting the floor, nothing unusual. But his trained eye caught a faint scuff mark near the bell's base, and a small dark thread snagged in the stone, evidence that someone had been here recently. He leaned closer to the bell, studying the mechanism. "Not mechanical," he muttered to himself. "No tricks, no hidden gears. Someone is ringing it by hand." A sudden creak echoed from the stairs below. Arthur's hand went to his coat pocket, brushing against the small revolver he always carried, more out of habit than necessity. "Come up if you're going to follow," he called. No answer. Only the soft patter of footsteps retreating into the shadows. The detective examined the rope again. Dust and fingerprints mingled on the bronze, but nothing definitive. Whoever had rung the bell had done so carefully, deliberately, leaving just enough to confuse any observer. A faint knock on the tower door startled him. Eleanor's voice came through the wood. "Detective Sinclair, I saw a shadow outside my window." "Could it be the one who's ringing the bell?" Arthur responded with calm reassurance. "Stay inside, Miss Hawthorne. Do not leave your room. I'll investigate." He descended the staircase cautiously, eyes scanning every corner. The hallway seemed longer tonight, the shadows deeper. Each flicker of candlelight revealed more of the manor's hidden history. Portraits of grim-faced ancestors, dusty vases, and a grandfather clock ticking louder than usual. At the ground floor, he paused by the library door. The bell's chime had a haunting resonance, yet it seemed almost a signal, a message left by someone clever. He had a nagging sense that the missing items, the locket, the letter opener, the keys, were not taken for mere theft. Each one had a purpose, a role in a larger puzzle. A muffled sound came from the servants' wing. Arthur moved silently, peering around corners with the skill of a man who had spent decades watching human behavior. A shadow flitted past a doorway. Quick as a cat, he followed. The corridor ended in a small storage room, where he discovered a hidden panel in the wall. Behind it lay a collection of trinkets, the missing silver locket, keys, and other items. But more importantly, a notebook rested atop the pile, its pages filled with careful handwriting and cryptic sketches of the bell tower, the manor, and a map of hidden passageways. Arthur picked up the notebook, his brow furrowed. Whoever had done this was meticulous, organized, and perhaps obsessed. But why? And what message were they trying to convey? A sudden creak echoed behind him. He spun around, gun drawn, to see a figure standing in the shadows. The faint glint of glasses caught the candlelight, and for a moment the figure was frozen in surprise. "Detective Sinclair," a voice whispered, trembling with fear, or perhaps recognition. "You're not supposed to see this." Arthur's pulse quickened. Who had been watching him, and what secrets did they guard so fiercely in the manor's silent corridors? Ladies and gentlemen, the shadows of Hawthorne Manor grow longer, and Detective Arthur Sinclair holds a secret that could unravel the entire mystery. But in the heart of the manor, every discovery seems to lead to another question. Arthur lowered his gun slightly, but kept his eyes locked on the figure standing in the doorway. The candlelight revealed a young man, dressed in a gray suit, a size too large, with glasses perched nervously on his nose. He swallowed hard, hands trembling. I didn't expect anyone here," the man stammered. This isn't what it looks like." Arthur's gaze remained steady. "Then tell me, sir, what is it?" The man hesitated, glancing at the hidden panel, then back at Arthur. "My name is Theodore Crane. I'm part of the household staff. Or I was. I help with the inventory, the maintenance, the little things no one notices." His voice trailed off. "And the bell?" Arthur asked, nodding toward the tower. "The missing items?" Theodore swallowed again, his face pale. "I thought I was protecting the family. I thought I was doing the right thing." He shook his head. "It started with a note, a warning from someone from long ago. The bell, the locket, the keys, they're all clues to something hidden in the manor." Arthur stepped closer, curious despite himself. "Clues? Hidden where?" Theodore motioned toward the notebook in Arthur's hand. That notebook, it belonged to my uncle. He worked for the Hawthornes decades ago. It contains the locations of secret rooms, passages, and the bell. The bell was never just a bell, it was a signal. Arthur flipped through the pages, seeing sketches of corridors, trapdoors, and the bell mechanism itself. A signal for what? He asked. Theodore's lips trembled. For someone seeking the Hawthorne family treasure, it's been hidden here for generations. The bell signals when it's safe or when danger is near. Whoever has been ringing it, they know. Arthur's mind raced. The thefts, the careful planning, the deliberate timing. Everything fit. Someone was orchestrating a game, moving pieces across the manor without revealing themselves. And the items? He asked. They're markers, Theodore said, voice low. Each item points to a clue in the next location. The locket, the keys, the letter opener. They're part of a map, a trail to the treasure. I didn't want anyone hurt, so I tried to control it, to manage it. But the bell, it has a mind of its own. Arthur nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. Someone in the manor had access to these secret routes, and their knowledge was extensive. But why leave the clues in such a public yet hidden way? Show me the passages, Arthur said, closing the notebook. If this is to be solved, I need to see everything firsthand. Theodore hesitated, then led him through a narrow corridor behind the library shelves. A hidden lever clicked when pressed, revealing a spiral staircase descending into darkness. Candlelight flickered against stone walls, revealing worn steps and the faint scent of dust and age. This leads under the manor, Theodore whispered. Few have seen it. It connects rooms, storage areas, and even the bell tower. But beware. It's easy to get lost if you don't know the path. Arthur followed, noting every detail, every marking, every subtle hint left by those who had moved through these halls before. Every shadow seemed to hold a secret. At the bottom of the staircase, the corridor split in two, each tunnel lined with old wooden beams. Arthur stopped, realizing that one wrong turn could lead him into a trap, or worse, away from the truth. And then from the darkness came a faint, metallic sound, a single ring of the bell echoing below the manor. Someone was waiting, watching, and the game had only just begun. Ladies and gentlemen, the walls of Hawthorne Manor whisper with secrets, and Detective Arthur Sinclair now steps into the shadows beneath the estate. But beware, in these hidden corridors, even the smallest sound may tell a story or hide a lie. Arthur and Theodore paused at the fork in the underground passage. The faint smell of damp stone and old timber filled the air. Candlelight flickered, casting shadows that seemed to move of their own accord. This way, Theodore whispered, gesturing to the left tunnel. It leads toward the servants' quarters and a hidden storeroom my uncle mentioned in the notebook. That's where the next clue should be. The detective nodded, his eyes scanning every wall, every beam. He had learned long ago that in cases like these, even the smallest detail could unravel the entire mystery. A scratch on the floor, a faint stain on the wall, a whisper of fabric, anything could reveal the hand behind the plot. The tunnel narrowed, forcing them to walk single file. Arthur's mind raced through the possibilities. Who had been ringing the bell? Why leave the clues scattered? And most importantly, how much did the Hawthorne family itself know? A sudden scuffling sound echoed from deeper in the corridor. Arthur motioned for Theodore to stay quiet. They moved slowly, each step measured. From the shadows emerged a figure, small, hunched, carrying a lantern. The figure froze as Arthur's voice cut through the darkness. "Show yourself," he commanded. The figure sighed and removed a hood, revealing the face of an elderly man, his eyes sharp beneath heavy brows. "Detective Sinclair, I've been expecting you," he said, voice calm but firm. "Name's Harold Finch. I've tended to the manor longer than anyone alive today, and I know what secrets it holds." Arthur raised an eyebrow. "And what, pray tell, are those secrets?" Harold gestured to a narrow door hidden behind a stack of crates. "That storeroom. Everything you've been chasing started here decades ago. Your bell ringer isn't just playing a game. They're trying to find something that could change the Hawthorne legacy." The detective's eyes narrowed. "The treasure," he said almost to himself. "The clues in the notebook, the bell, it's all a trail to the Hawthorne treasure." Harold nodded. "Yes, but beware. Others know about it too. Someone has been following the clues, watching, waiting for the perfect moment." They entered the storeroom. Dust motes floated in the candlelight, revealing stacks of old furniture, boxes, and chests. On a wooden table lay several items, a silver locket, an old key, and a folded letter, each appearing carefully arranged. Theodore stepped forward. "These are the markers I mentioned," he said softly. "Each one points to the next clue. But I never intended for anyone to find them without knowing the path." Arthur picked up the folded letter and examined it carefully. The handwriting was old-fashioned, meticulous. It contained directions, cryptic, but intelligible to anyone who understood the manor's layout. The detective's pulse quickened. Every step brought him closer to the truth. But then, a soft click echoed behind them. Arthur spun around, gun drawn. The hallway was empty, yet the sound had come from the tunnel entrance. The shadows seemed to stretch unnaturally, as though hiding someone just beyond perception. Harold muttered under his breath, "They're close. Too close." Arthur's eyes darted from one shadow to another. Someone had entered the manor's underworld unnoticed. The bell had rung again, a signal. But who was signaling whom? And what danger lay ahead in the twisting passages of stone and timber? And then, from the darkness beyond the storeroom, a whisper reached Arthur's ears. "Detective Sinclair, you're not the only one seeking the truth. Ladies and gentlemen, the walls of Hawthorne Manor hold more than dust and echoes. Tonight, Detective Sinclair discovers that every shadow hides a secret, and some secrets are more dangerous than others." Arthur's hand tightened on his revolver as the whisper reverberated through the storeroom. He turned slowly, scanning the darkness. Theodore stood beside him, trembling but resolute, while Harold Finch's calm demeanor seemed almost unnerving in contrast to the tension. "Who's there?" Arthur called, voice steady despite the rising anticipation. No answer came, only the distant drip of water from some unseen leak. The flickering candlelight threw shadows across the crates and chests, and the detective's eyes caught a subtle movement near a corner. He approached cautiously, every step deliberate, listening to the soft scrape of his shoes against the stone floor. "Wait," Harold said. "Look there. The crate with the carved mark. It wasn't there yesterday." Arthur's brow furrowed. He knelt, examining the crate's corner. Indeed, someone had tampered with it. The carving matched symbols he had seen in the notebook. A small bell, intertwined with an intricate key. Whoever had moved this crate was following the trail carefully, and they were close. Theodore swallowed hard. "I think they want the treasure before anyone else finds it." Arthur nodded. He knew this hunt was no longer a leisurely investigation. Someone was using the clues for their own, and judging by the precision, this was no amateur. He lifted the crate lid slowly. Inside lay old papers, a bundle of letters, and a small, leather-bound journal. The letters were faded, written decades ago in meticulous handwriting. The journal contained the meticulous records of a previous caretaker, someone who had cataloged every secret passage, every hidden nook of Hawthorne Manor. Arthur flipped through the pages, absorbing every detail. The bell tower, the underground tunnels, the concealed rooms, all were accounted for. But one entry caught his eye. If the treasure is to be taken, it must be approached carefully. Those who ring the bell signal not just their presence, but their intent. Trust no one blindly. A chill ran down Arthur's spine. The bell was more than a warning. It was a tool of manipulation, a way to control those who dared to uncover the manor's secrets. Suddenly, a soft sound, like the shifting of cloth, came from the far side of the room. Arthur turned sharply, gun ready. A figure emerged from the shadows, tall and thin, face hidden beneath a hood. "I see you found the ledger," the figure said, voice calm but icy. "Curious, aren't you, detective?" Arthur's eyes narrowed. "Who are you?" The figure chuckled softly. "Someone who knows more about the Hawthorne treasure than you ever will, and now you've stumbled right into my game." Harold stepped forward, his voice firm. "We won't let you harm anyone. This manor's secrets are meant to be protected, not exploited." The hooded figure tilted their head, studying Harold for a moment before responding. "Ah, but some secrets are too tempting to leave untouched. You may try to stop me, but the bell has already chosen who will hear its call tonight." Arthur took a step forward, heart steady but mind racing. The stakes had just escalated. Whoever this intruder was, they weren't just seeking the treasure. They were orchestrating events with knowledge of the manor that only a few could possess. Theodore whispered, "Detective, what do we do?" Arthur's gaze swept the room, noting every possible exit, every hiding place. The tension thickened, the air heavy with expectation. And then another sound, faint but unmistakable, the echoing toll of the bell coming from somewhere above them in the tower. The bell's voice filled the manor once more, a chilling reminder that the hunt was far from over. And in that echo, Arthur realized something terrifying. The intruder wasn't alone. Ladies and gentlemen, the bell tolls again, echoing through the halls of Hawthorne Manor, and Detective Sinclair begins to sense that the shadows themselves may be conspiring. In tonight's tale, every sound carries meaning, and every corner hides a secret. Arthur's pulse quickened as the toll reverberated through the stone corridors. It was not the gentle peal of an old bell. This was deliberate, precise, almost taunting. Someone above was communicating, and the message was clear. The game was escalating. Harold Finch, his lantern casting long shadows across the walls, muttered, "They're coordinating. Whoever's up there knows exactly where we are." Arthur turned to Theodore. "We need a plan. This storeroom is a trap if we stay here. The intruder wants us distracted while they move closer to the treasure." Theodore swallowed, nodding nervously. "The tower, maybe we can get to the bell ourselves, cut off their signal." "Exactly," Arthur said. "But we must be careful. Every step we take is being watched." They ascended the narrow staircase leading from the storeroom to the upper floors, the air growing colder with each step. The manor groaned around them, the ancient timbers flexing as though alive, bearing witness to decades of secrets. Arthur's mind replayed the journal entries he had read moments ago. Hidden doors, secret passageways, false walls. Someone who knew these details could strike without warning. As they reached the landing, a floorboard creaked above them. Arthur froze, hand on the revolver. From the shadows, a movement, swift, silent, practiced. The hooded figure they had seen in the storeroom now appeared at the end of the hall, flanked by a second figure, equally concealed. Detective Sinclair, the first intruder, said, voice like silk over steel, "You really should have stayed in the storeroom. Now you're in our path." Arthur's gaze darted to Theodore, then back to the intruders. "You underestimate us," he said calmly. "We've traced the bell's message before. We can outsmart you if you make a single mistake." The first intruder chuckled softly. "Outsmart? Perhaps, but the bell has its mind. Its sound guides us, warns us, and tests us." Arthur felt a chill. The bell was more than a signal. It was an instrument of control, dictating each movement within the manor. The detective realized that to stop the intruders, he had to cut the signal at its source. Harold leaned closer. "There's a hidden doorway behind the tapestry at the top of the stairs," he whispered. "It leads directly into the bell tower. But it's narrow, and whoever's guarding it may strike first." Arthur nodded. "We'll move carefully. Theodore, follow me and stay close. Harold, you cover the rear." They approached the tapestry, hands steady. Arthur pulled it aside, revealing a narrow archway of carved stone. The air inside smelled of dust, aged wood, and faint iron. As they stepped into the passage, the distant tolling of the bell grew louder, echoing in perfect cadence with their quickening heartbeats. Halfway up the spiral staircase, a shadow darted past, a swift, silent silhouette barely visible in the dim lantern light. Arthur raised his revolver, but the figure disappeared through a small doorway to the left. "The intruder knows every inch of this place," Theodore whispered, voice tight with fear. Arthur didn't respond. His mind was already calculating every possible move. They were close now. The bell, the treasure, and the truth were all within reach. One misstep could end everything, but the detective was determined. As they reached the top of the tower, the bell's great bronze surface loomed before them, the rope dangling, swaying slightly, as though inviting someone to pull. Arthur's hand trembled not from fear, but from anticipation. And then, a movement behind him. Arthur spun around, heart pounding. The second intruder had reached the top before them, blocking the only exit from the tower. The detective now faced the impossible: confront the intruder and seize the bell, or risk losing everything he had pursued. And as the bell's toll rang once more, he realized that someone in the manor held a secret that could shatter the mystery entirely. Tonight, listeners, the tower creaks under more than age. It bears the weight of suspense and revelation. Detective Sinclair is about to meet the person who has been orchestrating every shadowy move in Hawthorne Manor. Arthur froze, facing the intruder who blocked the spiral staircase's narrow exit. The bell loomed above, its bronze surface gleaming dimly in the flickering lantern light. The rope dangled temptingly, yet the detective knew that pulling it without caution could trigger more than just sound. It could trigger danger. "Step aside," Arthur said evenly, revolver leveled. "We don't want to fight, but we will defend ourselves." The intruder chuckled, a low, silky sound that reverberated through the tower. "Ah, Detective Sinclair, always so righteous. Do you think you can stop what has been set in motion?" Arthur's eyes swept the room. Behind the intruder, a small hatch in the corner of the tower floor caught his attention. A possible escape route or another secret passage. His mind raced with possibilities. Harold's voice came quietly from below. "Arthur, be careful. There may be more than one of them up there." Arthur nodded subtly, signaling Theodore to stay alert. The young assistant's hands trembled, but he followed closely, ready to act on any command. "Who are you?" Arthur demanded, trying to maintain calm. "Why manipulate the manor and the treasure like this?" The intruder lifted the hood, revealing a face older than either Arthur or Harold expected, lined with years of careful observation. "I am Eleanor Hawthorne," she said softly, yet with a commanding tone. "Keeper of the manor's secrets, guardian of its treasure. For decades I've watched, ensuring that only the worthy can claim it." Arthur blinked. Eleanor Hawthorne, the last of the Hawthorne line, thought long lost, now stands mere feet away. Her calm demeanor suggested knowledge of every hidden corridor, every silent trap. She had orchestrated the bell's warnings, guided the clues, and watched their every move, not for greed, but to test character. "You've been testing us?" Harold stammered, incredulous. Eleanor nodded. "Every step, every discovery, every moment of fear, it was a measure of your worthiness. Too often people come to Hawthorne Manor for treasure alone. I needed to know if any still valued history, knowledge, and honor over gold." Theodore let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. "So all the danger, the chasing, the secrets, it was a test?" "Yes," Eleanor said, her gaze steady, almost gentle. "And tonight you have proven yourselves worthy enough to know the truth. But beware, even the worthy can make mistakes." Arthur studied her carefully. The story made sense, yet one question burned in his mind. The bell. It's been signaling all this time. Was it meant to scare us, guide us, or warn someone else? Eleanor's eyes glimmered with faint amusement. "The bell serves many purposes. It warns intruders, guides seekers, and keeps the past alive. Some messages are meant for the present, others for the future." As she spoke, a sudden shift in the tower caught their attention. A hidden panel sliding open, revealing a narrow staircase descending into darkness. Eleanor's gaze followed it. "Few know this passage exists," she said softly. "It leads to the manor's greatest secret, a place hidden from the world for generations. But only one may enter at a time." Arthur felt the weight of history pressing around him. The manor had kept its secrets well, and he realized that the mystery was not over. Not yet. Eleanor's presence added layers he hadn't anticipated. Someone had been guiding the narrative, shaping their journey, and testing their resolve. And then, a faint whisper echoed from below, chillingly familiar, the sound of a second bell, smaller, hidden, responding to the tower's great bronze voice. Arthur's eyes narrowed. Eleanor Hawthorne had guided them this far, but someone else, someone unknown, was now signaling them, and the manor's final secret was still shrouded in shadow. Who was sending the second signal, and what truth awaited in the hidden chamber below? Ladies and gentlemen, The suspense thickens. As Detective Sinclair and his companions peer into the depths of Hawthorne Manor, the final secrets begin to stir. One wrong step could reveal more than they ever imagined. Arthur lingered at the entrance of the hidden staircase, staring into the darkness below. The faint echo of the smaller bell was a heartbeat in the silent manor, a sound both ominous and enticing. He knew that the path below held the answers they had pursued for hours, yet the risk was undeniable. Eleanor's gaze softened. Only those willing to face the unknown may uncover what lies beneath. The manor has tested your courage, your judgment, and your integrity. Now, the truth waits. Theodore, hesitant but determined, swallowed hard. We should go, Arthur. We've come this far. Whatever's down there, we face it together. Arthur nodded. Stay close and keep your lantern steady. The air down there may be stale, and the footing uncertain. Step by careful step, they descended. The spiral of stone seemed endless, the darkness pressing against their senses. The smaller bells tolling grew clearer, revealing rhythm, almost like a coded message. Arthur strained to listen, memorizing the sequence. Finally, they reached the bottom. The narrow passage opened into a vast chamber, its walls lined with shelves and cabinets filled with books, artifacts, and objects from generations past. A faint glow from antique lanterns revealed paintings of stern-faced ancestors, each portrait watching as if guarding the room's secrets. Arthur's eyes widened. This is incredible. It's a repository of the manor's history, untouched for decades. Harold stepped forward, carefully examining an ancient ledger. Look at these entries. They chronicle every major event in Hawthorne Manor's history, even noting visitors, treasure, and incidents that were never recorded publicly. Eleanor's voice echoed softly in the chamber. This is the heart of the manor. Knowledge preserved here is more valuable than gold. The bell has always been a guardian, protecting these truths from those unworthy or unprepared. As they explored, Arthur noticed something unusual, a small, ornate box on a pedestal, positioned beneath a painting of the first Hawthorne patriarch. Its surface was etched with a curious pattern, the same rhythm as the second bell's toll. The bell, Arthur whispered. It's guiding us. It's telling us to open this. Theodore moved closer, hesitant fingers reaching for the box. As he did, a sudden click echoed in the chamber. The walls vibrated slightly, and a hidden panel swung open, revealing another figure emerging from the shadows. Arthur raised his revolver. Who's there? The figure stepped into the lantern light. It was a man, middle-aged, with an air of quiet authority. Detective Sinclair, he said calmly. I see you've discovered my signal. I am Leonard Graves, historian and guardian of the manor's lesser-known secrets. Eleanor's expression flickered briefly. Leonard, you were supposed to remain in the background. Why intervene now? Leonard's gaze swept the chamber. Because someone unworthy was close to learning too much. The second bell was my safeguard. I couldn't let the manor's knowledge fall into careless hands. Arthur's mind raced. Two people had been orchestrating signals, guiding their journey, Eleanor testing character, Leonard protecting historical truths. Together, they had shaped the path, but now the detective wondered, could they trust either one completely? Leonard stepped closer to the box. The pattern of the bell, the hidden doors, the clues you followed, all of it led to this moment. Open the box, detective. But know this, what you discover will require wisdom, not just courage. Arthur took a deep breath. Theodore's hand rested lightly on his shoulder. They exchanged a look, a silent agreement to proceed. Arthur reached for the box and lifted the lid. Inside lay a collection of delicate, handwritten journals, each detailing family secrets, lost artifacts, and revelations about the manor's past. Among them, one journal stood out, bound in worn leather and sealed with a small emblem identical to the bell's rope pattern. As Arthur opened it, a folded piece of paper slipped out. Unfolding it, he read the message aloud. The treasure is not what you seek, but who you are when the manor reveals its truth. Arthur's head lifted, eyes meeting Eleanor and Leonard. The journals revealed astonishing truths, but the warning in the message left a question lingering in the air. Could the detective decipher the manor's final secret before it was lost forever? Tonight, dear listeners, the puzzle nears its climax. Detective Sinclair stands at the threshold of revelation, but in Hawthorne Manor, even the clearest truth can hide a shadow. Arthur's fingers lingered over the journal, absorbing the elegant, precise script of generations long gone. Each line told stories of ambition, mischief, and devotion, weaving a tapestry of the Hawthorne family's secrets. He could feel the manor itself watching, waiting for him to interpret its silent voice. Eleanor stepped closer, her expression softened with rare emotion. These journals reveal everything: our family's triumphs and failings, hidden passages, treasures, even betrayals. But the ultimate truth, Arthur, is not about wealth or power. It is about character. Leonard Graves, standing opposite, adjusted his spectacles. The manor has always tested those who enter. Its secrets are rewards for those who demonstrate integrity, courage, and humility. Anyone seeking only treasure leaves empty-handed, or worse. Theodore, wide-eyed, leafed through a bundle of maps and letters. "Arthur, look at this. It's a map of the manor, but it shows hidden rooms we didn't even suspect. One of them, it's marked with the bell's emblem." Arthur examined the map. Indeed, a small chamber tucked beneath the west wing had a peculiar notation, an emblem shaped like the bell rope, identical to the signal they had followed. "This must be the manor's final secret," he murmured. "Everything has been leading us here." Eleanor nodded. "Yes, but be warned, the path is not without challenge. The final chamber preserves the truth of the Hawthorne legacy. You will see what few ever witness, and you must decide what to do with it." With lanterns held high, Arthur, Theodore, Eleanor, and Leonard made their way along a narrow corridor, the walls lined with faded portraits and polished wood panels. The air was heavy with the scent of old books and candle wax, a mixture that seemed to carry whispers from the past. As they approached the hidden chamber, the small bell's echo grew louder. Arthur hesitated at the threshold, sensing the culmination of the manor's test. This was more than a discovery. It was a verdict on those who had entered the Hawthorne legacy. Inside, the room was unexpectedly bright, illuminated by sunlight streaming through a stained glass window. On a pedestal in the center rested an intricately carved box, its surface engraved with the full image of the manor's bell. Around it, documents and artifacts gleamed. Letters of reconciliation, deeds of generosity, and objects of historical significance. Arthur carefully lifted the lid. Inside lay an assortment of personal items: a locket, a pocket watch, a collection of old photographs, and a final letter addressed to the one who proved worthy. Eleanor's voice trembled slightly. "These items tell the true story. They are not treasure in gold or jewels. They are the memory and values of the Hawthorne family. The bell led you here to show that the real wealth lies in history, honor, and truth." Leonard added, "And now you have a choice. Preserve these secrets, share them with the world, or keep them hidden as the family intended. Each choice carries responsibility." Arthur felt the weight of the moment pressing down on him. He looked at Theodore, then at Eleanor and Leonard, understanding the lesson. The manor's challenges were never about greed. The danger, the puzzles, and the suspense had been a mirror to their values. As he closed the box gently, a sudden noise startled them. The great bronze bell above in the tower had begun to toll on its own, though no hand pulled the rope. Its sound reverberated through the manor, deep and resonant, echoing like a heartbeat in stone. Theodore froze. "Arthur, that wasn't anyone, that was the bell itself." Arthur's eyes narrowed. The manor seemed alive, as if approving their discovery, signaling that the final test had been passed. But in the echoing tone, he sensed one last enigma, a whisper, beyond the journals and the treasures, a final secret yet unsaid. Could the bell's lone toll reveal one last truth about Hawthorne Manor, a secret even Eleanor and Leonard had not anticipated? And what decision would Arthur make about the legacy now in his hands? Ladies and gentlemen, the final chime of Hawthorne Manor's bell has sounded. Tonight, Detective Sinclair uncovers the ultimate secret, and the truth, long hidden, is finally revealed. Arthur stood in the center of the sunlit chamber, the journals and artifacts arrayed before him. The toll of the great bell still resonated in the manor, a deep, solemn rhythm that seemed almost like a heartbeat. He took a slow breath, realizing that every step of their journey, every puzzle, every riddle, every hidden passage, had been designed to lead him here. Eleanor stepped closer, her voice gentle but firm. "Arthur, the manor watches all who enter. It observes patience, courage, and judgment. The final test is not simply in discovery, but in choice." Arthur's gaze moved to Leonard, whose expression was calm, yet unreadable. "The Guardian set this in motion," Leonard said quietly. "Every clue, every signal of the bell, it has been a guide. But the ultimate revelation, the one the manor reserves for the worthy, is what matters most." Arthur carefully picked up a folded piece of parchment, tucked inside the leather-bound journal. It was the final letter from the first Hawthorne patriarch. The elegant script read, "The treasure of Hawthorne Manor is not gold, nor jewels, nor titles. It is the legacy of truth, the courage to uncover it, and the wisdom to honor it. Only those who understand this shall inherit its secret." He looked up at Eleanor and Leonard. So the bell was never about sound. It was a signal, a guide, and a test. The manor itself judged our intentions. Theodore, still amazed, stepped forward. "But what about the last message? The journals mentioned lost artifacts, letters, even betrayals. Isn't there a secret we haven't yet found?" Arthur nodded, feeling the pulse of the manor beneath their feet. He turned toward the pedestal where the carved box rested. Carefully, he lifted a hidden panel beneath it. Inside was a small compartment containing a collection of personal items, a faded photograph of a young couple, letters of reconciliation, and a beautifully carved miniature bell, identical to the one in the tower above. Eleanor's eyes glistened. "This is the true treasure, memories, legacies, and the proof that kindness, honesty, and courage outlast wealth or ambition. The manor preserves what is valuable in spirit, not material." Leonard stepped back, a rare smile crossing his features. "And now, detective, the decision is yours. Will you take this knowledge into the world, preserve it quietly, or leave it hidden, as the family intended?" Arthur paused, feeling the weight of the choice. In that quiet moment, the bell in the tower rang once more, long, deep, and deliberate. Its resonance seemed to affirm his path. With care, he replaced the box and journals exactly as he found them. "The world doesn't need gold or artifacts," he said softly. "The lesson is enough. I will preserve this truth, protect it, and let it teach those who come after us." Theodore exhaled, relieved and awed. Eleanor nodded approvingly. Leonard's expression softened, a hint of pride in his eyes. As they ascended the hidden staircase, the manor seemed to breathe around them. Sunlight streamed through the windows, dust motes dancing in the golden glow. The great bell's toll faded into silence, leaving behind an echo of history, memory, and timeless wisdom. Arthur paused at the doorway to the main hall, glancing back one last time. Hawthorne Manor stood majestic, as if acknowledging their understanding. Every creaking floorboard, every shadowed corridor, every echo of the bell had led to this moment, a revelation of the true treasure, hidden in plain sight. Cliffhanger resolution. And so, the mystery of the smaller bell, the hidden journals, and the secret chambers of Hawthorne Manor was revealed. The manor's ultimate secret was not gold, nor jewels, nor power. It was the enduring legacy of truth, courage, and wisdom. Detective Sinclair had uncovered it, not through greed or ambition, but through insight, patience, and honor. And as the last echoes of the bell faded, a thought lingered in the quiet manor. Some secrets, once discovered, are meant to inspire generations, quietly shaping the hearts of those who dare to seek them. The end.